You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Citizen Detective, and Campus Killings. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. If you would like to discuss a missing persons case on this podcast, please be sure to visit missingpersonspodcast.net. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Missing Persons, a podcast dedicated to spreading the word about people who have vanished under mysterious or unexplained circumstances and the family members who are looking for answers. I'm Jess Betancourt.
And I'm Mike Morford. Together, we created this podcast to help give a voice to people who continue to search for their missing loved ones. In some cases, even after decades have gone by. In each episode, you'll hear from Jess giving listeners the backstory and the basic facts of the disappearance.
Then Mike will speak with someone who's intimately connected to the missing person, and his guest will share their story with us.
Please stay tuned at the conclusion of this episode to hear about our Patreon program and our commitment to help find people who have gone missing. We'll also share with you where you can find more information and how you can join our team and help our efforts. You'll get recommendations for other podcasts we think you'll enjoy and more.
So sit back and enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can help us find someone who's missing. Episode 65, Nicole Bell. Nicole Crystal Bell is a mother of three who was missing from her hometown of Malacca. The small town is situated 10 miles northeast of the town of Sicamous, near the eastern shores of Shaswap Lake in British Columbia, Canada. Nicole was 31 when she was last seen. She is the eldest child of Jane and Dennis Oberten, and her mother Jane is our guest today. Nicole is close with her family and was typically in regular contact with her parents and her sister Tricia. Tricia was interviewed by The Observer about her sister's disappearance. She said, quote, "It's not like Nicole to do this. She is what you would say is a soccer mom type," end quote. As Tricia said, Nicole was a typical mom who lived for her kids. She resided with her husband, who has not been publicly named, and was a stay-at-home mom, but she was also a breeder of pit bulls and earned money by selling the puppies. When she vanished, her kids were young. They were all grade school age at 11, 6, and 4, and they relied on their mother to provide them with everything they needed. Nicole's friends and family say it is simply not believable that Nicole would willingly leave her children. Her parents say that her children still cry for their mother, and no one has any idea where she is. We know next to nothing about Nicole's actual disappearance. On Saturday, September 2nd, 2017, Nicole was believed to be at home in Malacca. Her husband was at work. At some point during the day, she updated her Facebook page with a new selfie of herself. It's a shot taken from above, a 3/4 angle of the right side of her face. She isn't really smiling, but she looks something between shy and coy. According to the publicly available information on Nicole's case, she was last seen on September 2nd in the town of Sicamous, about a half-hour's drive from her home. What she was doing there and who she was with, if anyone, has not been released. Her car was inoperable at the time and was found at her house, so how she got to Sicamous is unknown. Nicole's husband arrived home and found her missing. He'd been trying to contact her unsuccessfully throughout the day. When he realized that no one had heard from his wife, he reported her missing to police on September 3rd. Police launched an official missing persons investigation on the 7th. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, has provided very little public information about this case. One report that made it into the news made reference to a meeting Nicole was scheduled to have on September 5th with an unnamed male. But we have no more details, and the 5th was 3 days after Nicole actually went missing. The RCMP has stated that they tracked Nicole's cell phone to a specific neighborhood in Salmon Arm. Reports are that her cell phone was actually found there, but police have not said where or by whom it was found. Salmon Arm is about 31 kilometers away from Sycamus and about an hour's drive from Nicole's home in Malacca. Salmon Arm is a town of about 17,000 residents and is the main business area in the Columbia-Shuswap Regional District. Nicole went there regularly to shop. Police went door-to-door in the 10th Street Southwest area of Salmon Arm asking residents if they'd noticed anything out of the ordinary on the weekend of September 2nd to 3rd. Residents who were canvassed told the media that police were inquiring about specific items of clothing and whether anyone had seen a silver F-150 pickup truck. Why they were asking these questions remains a mystery. We don't know what the connection is, if any, between Nicole Bell and Salmon Arm and how her cell phone came to be there. Nicole's family does not know what information was found on the phone, as police have said they do not want to risk jeopardizing the investigation. Nicole's parents, Jane and Dennis, live in Calgary but spoke with their daughter on the phone regularly. They know of nothing in their daughter's life that would lead someone to harm her. Yet they do believe that foul play has occurred. They dismiss the notion that Nicole left on her own accord, and nothing in her life points to that being what happened. Nicole's case has been taken on by the RCMP's Major Crimes Unit. Unfortunately, her case is not the only instance of a missing woman in the region. 2 other women from the North Okanagan-Shuswap area went missing in a 19-month period spanning parts of 2016 and 2017. They are Caitlin Potts, last seen on February 1st of 2016, and Deanna Wirtz, last seen on July 19th of 2016. 2 other women who also went missing in the area in the same time frame were already found deceased. They were Ashley Simpson, whose remains were found near Yankee Flats, and Tracy Generaux, whose remains were found on a private farm. There has been an arrest in Ashley's case declared a homicide, and there is a prime suspect in Tracy's case, deemed a suspicious death. But Deanna, Caitlin's, and Nicole's bodies have not been found, if they are in fact deceased, and their cases remain open. The Capital Daily reported that, quote, each year, British Columbia sees a disproportionately high number of missing persons cases, with nearly double the number reported in the next closest province, Ontario, which has nearly triple its population. BC recorded 12,400 missing persons cases involving adults in 2020, more than 40% of the country's 29,645 cases. Nicole Bell's is one of these mysterious cases. Nicole's parents have been very active in organizing and participating in searches for their daughter and the other missing women. They've been aided by a group called the Missing and Murdered Woman Drone Search Team. They've visited the areas where the women were last seen, distributed flyers, put up posters, and worked with volunteer searchers to scour the area. No sign of Nicole or Deanna or Caitlin has been found. The Obertans wrote a letter that was published in the Eagle Valley News. It reads, "To take part in the banner drop, poster distribution, and the drone search was an experience that we would do again. We are grateful for all the support, prayers, and volunteers who participated in the banner drop, poster distribution, and drone search. The MMIW group are a fantastic group of people for organizing these events to bring awareness to these missing women. A big thank you goes out to them and the drone pilots, Crystal Mountain Aerial Media West Kelowna and Skyview Imagery Salmon Arm, and to John Simpson for raising the funds for the purchase of a drone. Together we can find these missing women. Ashley Simpson, Caitlin Potts, Deanna Wirtz, and our daughter, Nicole Bell. These women are gone but not forgotten. To those people in the neighborhood where the posters were posted, we did not mean to disrespect your neighborhood. We were just trying to get tips on the missing women to bring them home. That is the area where our daughter's phone was found. Please take note of the content and the sensitivity of them, and we are asking to leave them up. Thank you. Jane and Dennis Obertan, Nicole Bell's parents." Since that letter was written, Ashley was found murdered. But even though Nicole's parents fear the worst for their own daughter, they still hope for the best. Nicole Bell would have turned 37 on November 2nd of 2022. She's described as a 31-year-old Caucasian who is 4 foot 11 inches tall and has blonde hair past her shoulders. She has a piercing in her nose and above her upper lip and occasionally wears glasses. Anyone with information is asked to call the tip line at 1-877-987-8477. Callers may remain anonymous. Mike Morford sat down to talk with Jane Obertan about her daughter's case. That conversation is coming up after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, Jane, and thanks for coming on Missing Persons to discuss your daughter Nicole's case with us.
Hi, how are you? Glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you here, and hopefully we can spread some awareness of your daughter's case. Nicole's been missing now 5 years, and there's reason to believe that her case could be connected to some other missing persons cases in the area. And before we sift through some of the clues and some of the things that sort of jump out, can you tell us a little bit about Nicole herself?
Well, Nicole is the oldest child of ours, and she's bubbly, fun. She can light up a room. She's friendly, heart of gold. She loves her kids. What else can I say? She's just an all-around great person. Even though she was only 4'11", sorry, my apologies, 4'11", she was just a bundle of excitement.
You know, it sounds like family-oriented. She happy mom, that kind of thing.
Yes, she's a very happy mom. Her kids were her world.
Yeah, and what were their ages? When she went missing, how old were they roughly?
11, 6, and 4.
Okay, and Nicole was 31 at the time. So I'm
just 2 months before her 32nd birthday. Yes.
Okay, so I imagine her being gone, she'd be in her mid-30s now. All this time had to have been really difficult on your family, especially her 3 children.
Yes, it has been.
Yeah,
it has been. 5 years is a long time. Sometimes it just feels like yesterday.
Yeah, so it's sort of you look back and it's sort of like a blink of an eye. It seems like yesterday, but it's when you're missing her, it probably seems like an eternity.
Yes.
What was going on in her life right around the time she went missing? Was everything normal? Did any signs of anything coming out of the ordinary?
Not that I am aware of. She lives in BC and I live in Calgary. So her day-to-day life, I wasn't aware of anything.
And after she went missing, was there anything that came to light that made you, suspicious of anything that happened leading up to when she disappeared?
No.
You mentioned you lived in 2 different cities. And for those of us here, I'm all the way in Florida, so I'm as far away from Canada as you can get. But for those of us that are not real familiar with that area of Canada, how far apart are those 2 cities?
From Calgary and Melaqua?
Yeah.
5 hours.
Okay. So
five and a half
pretty
hours.
good distance. Were the 2 of you close? Did you talk a lot on the phone and things like that?
We do talk on the phone. We did talk on the phone quite a bit. When she had a minute, being busy with 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
So we did, and me working, of course, but we did talk on the phone quite often. The last time that I had spoken to her was just prior to her going missing in August. Late August. I was in Nashville, Tennessee at that time.
Everything was normal last time you spoke to her?
It seemed to be, yes.
Yeah. And I'm curious, was Nicole in a relationship? Was she have
She was married.
Okay, so she was married.
Oh, yeah. No, she was married.
And how was the relationship with her husband? Everything was good there?
Everything was good.
Huh. And I guess this is, sometimes we hear cases where there's, someone is leading a lifestyle where there's, they're in harm's way or they come across risky people and their life is sometimes in dangerous situations. But it doesn't sound like that was going on with Nicole. Sounds like she was a happy mom, busy, married, not, in a high risk lifestyle.
No, she wasn't in a high risk lifestyle. That's what's really confusing.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to that day when she disappeared. It was September 2nd, 2017, and Nicole was last seen in Sycamus.
Okay, so to give you a geological map, so when you first come in out of Revelstoke, and the first town you hit is actually Malacca, which is a small inlet kind of town. And then you drive through in Sycamus about half an hour, and then there's Salmon Arm, which is about another half an hour. So her phone was found in Salmon Arm.
Okay. Her phone was found following her disappearance.
Correct. So we're not somewhere in between Malacca and Salmon Arm. She may have disappeared. We're not quite sure exactly.
And what is the distance between those two areas, roughly?
They're all within minutes apart.
Okay. So it's not like it's, 50 miles or kilometers, however it is in, Canada, a huge distance apart.
No, it's about maybe half an hour drive in between each.
Okay.
So,
Can you walk us through the timeline as far as you understand it of what happened with Nicole that day?
That's the other, I don't know exactly. I was also up north of Alberta, in the Peace Country, attending a wedding at that time when she was reported missing. So I'm not quite exactly sure what happened between the last time I spoke to Nicole to when she was reported missing. I do know that I got a text message from her husband saying that he had not heard from Nicole and if I had. And I said, no, I have not. Casey, this is not right. You need to report her missing. And he did the following day, which would have been September 3rd. But the official missing persons report went out on the 7th.
Okay. But the last day she was seen was the 2nd. Is that correct?
Correct.
And as far as her husband relayed to you or later to police, what was his account of his last interaction with her and how he realized she was missing?
She did not contact him. She had not spoken to him. He was working at this time too, right? And she was, and then she just didn't come home, and it's like, well, okay, well, what's going on? And he arrived back home. So.
Now, what did Nicole work herself, or was she at home with the kids full time, or?
She was at home with the kids. She had an income she would breed pit bull dogs.
Okay, so she did that on the side, sort of a side job, and also raised the kids. Yes. And then her husband was working as well. So did he come home and find out she wasn't there? Or was she typically home when he got there? Or?
She would normally be home because the kids come home from school. So she would normally be home, and she was not home. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, so, waited a little while and then realized that she was not showing up.
So her husband wound up filing the police report, and did the police become quickly involved?
As far as I know, they had become quickly involved. But again, the official report did not come out until the 7th.
Yeah. And so those first hours or days or whatever, that very important when someone's missing. How soon was it that they found this phone, and how quickly did they realize that it was Nicole's?
Wow, you're asking that question that I have to go back into reading the news articles to remember that timeline. What had happened was the missing persons report was filed, and then so the Sycamus RCMP were doing their investigation. And if I'm not mistaken, they were the ones that discovered the phone. And then shortly after that, her case got moved to the Major Crimes Unit out of Kelowna.
Was there any clues on that phone, do you know, as far as maybe fingerprints?
They
or
won't tell
text?
me if there's
Okay.
anything.
Okay, so whatever they found on that phone, they're keeping it a secret.
Yes. And I don't blame them, because it would, if information from that phone got released, it could jeopardize the investigation.
Sure.
So I totally understand it. It's frustrating, but I totally understand.
Yeah.
I want my daughter found, right?
Absolutely. So whatever she may have had, if she called someone, if she texted someone, all that stuff, there may be clues there that the police can work with.
Correct.
Okay. And as far as the phone being found, was it sort of found hidden? Was it just out in the open? What was the situation around someone finding it?
Again, those are details that they will not release.
Other than it was just found. Okay.
Other than it was found.
I'm curious, was her car or anything else missing of hers?
No, actually her vehicle was, if I'm not mistaken, she wasn't driving her vehicle. It was broken at that time.
Okay.
So how she was getting around, I'm not sure. She would borrow a friend's vehicle or get a ride from a friend. I'm not quite sure.
And this area where the phone was found, how far was that from her home?
About an hour.
Okay. And where it was found, do you know if she ever went to that area? Was that a place she would go to, or was it sort of unusual that it would be found there?
It wasn't unusual to be found in the city of Salmon Arm, because Salmon Arm has like Walmart, other grocery stores, clothing stores, things like that, where Sicamous and Malacqua does not have those.
Curious what the local response was, from Nicole's friends, family, anyone in the area close to where she was at. Did they go out searching for her? How worried were they? Were they, out looking for her actively?
Oh, we've had quite a bit of responses with when we go out and search for her. Us as a family, too, here from Calgary, we make the trip to BC to search for her, and we organize search parties, and we have a great turnout.
Yeah,
from friends, family, complete strangers.
Do you look for in certain areas? Do you look like primarily around where her phone was found, or I know there's video or footage of you searching a farm that you think may be connected to the case?
Yes, we searched that farm. It was a friend's farm that she had rented at that time, and when she moved in, she was finding weird things on the farm that seemed to be out of place for being on a farm.
Okay. Can you explain what those things were?
No, not exactly, because she wouldn't give me the details. She just said, I'm finding weird things on the farm, and, I'm not sure if it's connected to your daughter or not. I had actually really didn't know this person at this time until she connected with me and said this. So now we are friends, and she helps me out all the time with searches. She still lives in the area. She just moved from that farm.
Okay. And you don't know if these were things sort of like items found there, or...
There is items that were found that she found kind of strange. There was a building that was locked that she found that was strange. Like, I'm renting the whole property here and I can't get into this building. There was another building adjacent to that seemed to have a tunnel that went through to the other building, and that's where you see us in the picture. And that tunnel actually led through to the other building, but we could not enter the other buildings.
So this is, you're actually walking around this area where you're worried that there might be some clues here. It's got to be
Correct.
A pretty tough experience being there if you think something may have happened there regarding Nicole, or if it's connected to her case in any way.
Hmm. Yeah, it was like, okay, are we going to find her here? Are we not going to find her here? And at the same time, while we were looking for her, we were also looking for the other missing women as well too. So not just primarily for Nicole. So we did have the Simpson family with us at that time when we were doing that farm.
Have you heard all the stories on the news lately about cold cases being solved by forensic genealogy? Are you fascinated by unsolved mysteries that you wish could be answered? Are you intrigued by DNA technology and its application to cold murder cases? Or do you just love a good story with a satisfying ending? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I have the podcast for you. DNA ID is the only true crime podcast dedicated exclusively to cold cases solved by forensic genealogy. On my show, you'll get all the behind-the-scenes details on how these cases were brought to closure and how the victims finally got justice. Listen to DNA ID Season 3 starting January 16th, 2023, wherever you get your podcasts.
That's a good segue. Let's talk about those other missing women, because from 2016 to 2017, there was a series of missing women in that area. Can you tell us just a little bit of a general description of what was going on there and how many people this was?
I don't know what's going on. It's just kind of weird that 5 women go missing within this area. It's really strange. 5 women from this area.
And how big an area were they directly, if you sort of put all the disappearances on a map, how close together are they? Are they pretty tight?
They're very tight. They're within 100 kilometers.
Wow. Were there any similarities in the disappearances of these people, these women? Any things that sort of overlap or say, this is similar, they went to the same store as my daughter, that kind of stuff?
No, there's nothing. Nicole didn't even know any of these other women.
Now, have any of these women at all been found?
Just 2.
Okay. And they
Tracy
were
Jenner.
Okay.
Yes. Tracy Jenner was the first to be found. And she was found on a property called Segmonen Farm. And no charges have been made. Because I knew you were going to ask that.
And was the other case, was there any, I had read in one of the reports that someone was taken into custody.
That would have been Curtis Segmon was in custody, if you're looking for that one.
Okay.
There's also Ashley Simpson was the other one that was found, the other lady that was found. She was found last year, and she would have been the second woman to go missing, or the third. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank at this time. And she was found, I'm not sure, they didn't release those details, but her boyfriend, Derek, is the one that is in custody for her. Okay.
So out of the 2 that were found, one's boyfriend was arrested, and the other one hasn't had an arrest. Were they were both deemed homicides?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Ashley Simpson is a homicide. They're considering that as a homicide, and he's in custody waiting trial. Tracy, I don't know if they put it as a homicide or an accidental. I don't know those details.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure some of the stuff too, they're probably keeping close to the vest as well.
Yes. But Caitlin was the first to go missing. Caitlin Potts. She was the first to go missing in that area.
Okay. And who was it that first sort of noticed the pattern that all these different women, was it in the news or was it the police, or who pointed out that, hey, there's a series of missing women in this area over a 2-year period?
I to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. all I know is when our daughter Nicole went missing, it just kind of went, wow, from there. And then all these other women popped up.
Okay.
As went missing in the area as well, too. I had a lot of people down in Enderby area, which is kind of central, helping me out with Nicole. And, yeah. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, well, wait a minute. Caitlin is missing out of this area. Deanna Warts is missing from this area. And then, Ashley Simpson, and then Tracy, and then Nicole.
So on one hand, I can imagine that's got to be frightening to have all these missing women there. On the other hand, though, if they are somehow connected, that might give police something.
They are not connected.
They're not. They're saying they're officially not. Okay.
They are officially in one of the shortly after Ashley was found, they did a news release, and they specifically said that none of these women are connected. Okay.
Yeah, and if they had been, that might give police some extra chance for them to find clues that sort of connect to each other. But if that's been ruled out, then it seems like it's maybe just a coincidence that all these women disappeared in that small area.
Yes, it is a coincidence that all these women have disappeared from this area.
So now you're left.
Frightening coincidence.
Yeah, a very frightening coincidence to have all these women miss over a short period of time there, and you're left back to square one, not knowing what happened to your daughter. Is there anything that hasn't been done to this point in your daughter's case that you think still needs to be done or should be done?
Besides finding her, I'm sure the RCMP major crimes units do not tell me a whole lot on what they are doing. So it's really hard to say if more needs to be done or less needs to be done, because I don't know any information.
So you're sort of kept in the dark, it sounds like.
Yes. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, I imagine you mentioned that you understand that they can't release everything, but at the same time, I'm sure the mother in you wants to know something to help you understand what the police have, what they're thinking.
Right. I mean, they play everything close to their vest. Absolutely. Including the areas that they had searched anywhere. They won't even tell me the areas that they have searched. So that's very frustrating, too. Because I don't know where to start.
Yeah. And
we just start from the salmon arm and just kind of work our way down and around, right? So from salmon arm, we go down to the Silver Creek area where the Sagmonan farm is, where Tracy's remains were found. So we kind of go from there down and then back up through the Enderby area. But most of this is also private property, so we have a hard time getting onto these properties as well too, right?
Yeah. And you're not law enforcement, so I assume you have to go get permission from all these people to go on their properties.
Right. Right. So we have to have permission from the homeowners or the landowners to go onto the properties. So we have searched. We have gone up these trails. They're quad trails, and it's called a mountain called Mount Ida, IDA, and that's kind of right there from Salmon Arm and Silver Creek and Enderby. It's kind of in the middle, and it's a fairly sized mountain.
Yeah. I can imagine it's like looking for a needle in a haystack at this point.
Yes, it is. So it's quite the terrain to be hiking through. Very tough area to be hiking through.
Yeah, a rugged outdoor type area.
Yeah, you need to be. It's not for the weak at heart, that's for sure.
And I'm curious, you mentioned you live 5 hours away. How often do you get out there to do these searches?
permitting, we've tried to get out there as much as we can. So every summer,
Okay.
we can. We missed last summer. Just our vehicle had broken down, so we missed last summer. So we try to get out there every year.
Okay.
And if we can't personally get out there, I have people that live in the area that will go hiking and keep an eye out and just do their own little searches.
Well, that's good that you have people that are willing to help you out like that.
Yeah, there's a great support system down there. Great support system.
I'm curious now that 5 years has passed and no answers. You're still searching for your daughter. Has there ever been any sign of her bank account being used? Any sightings of her? Anything like that at all?
No, there's no signs of her bank account either that I know of. I do have like pieces of mail that come to my house, to my address, like a co-op card, just little things like that. And there's been no activity on that as well.
So it's literally like she dropped off the face of the earth.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it's got to be
She's
very
just like, flying saucer came down and sucked her up. Gone.
scary.
It is very scary.
I know you're trying to get the word out. You do news things. You're doing an interview like this. Is there any websites or social media pages that you'd like to mention that people can go to and find out more about the case or share tips or information?
I don't particularly have anything like that. I do have one if you want to get to know Nicole. It's just a page that I created. It's called Getting to Know Nicole. And it's just my personal page where people can submit their memories of her.
Okay.
From the time that she was little to her teenage years and things like that.
And that's on Facebook? It's called Getting to Know Nicole?
That is on Facebook, yeah.
Okay. And if someone listening just happens to have information, are they welcome to pass that on to you there and you can in turn pass it on to police?
Absolutely. They can message me on my Facebook page, private message me.
Okay. And hopefully if someone out there does have information, they'll do the right thing and come forward. Even if they heard something, you never know what piece of information might be important.
Absolutely. I do encourage them to call the local RCMP station or Crime Stoppers. But some people don't want to do that, but they can certainly message me personally, and I will pass that information on, and I do not reveal my sources.
Okay. Well, again, hopefully someone out there, if they have that information, will do the right thing and come forward and put themselves in your shoes. If, they were searching for a loved one, they'd want to know what happened. So, you never know. There might be someone who holds a piece of the puzzle, and any little information they have could be important.
Yes, it could be an overheard conversation if somebody overheard somebody talking about her, and not direct information, but just an overhearing of somebody saying something.
Yeah,
that would even help.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it again, we mentioned it's been 5 years. I know, I have kids of my own. And I can't even imagine what you're going through over the last 5 years, not knowing where your child is, and as I mentioned, I'm sure. Her kids miss her as well, your grandchildren. So I do hope you find out what happened to Nicole and you get answers for your family's sake.
Yes, I hope so too. And I hope this year might be the year. You never know.
Yeah. 2023 coming might be a new chance to find out the truth about what happened to her.
Yes. And she went missing September 2nd, and it was exactly 2 months before her 32nd birthday.
Wow. So I imagine...
Yeah, she was born November 2nd.
I imagine every time that time rolls around, that's going to be tough for you.
It is. We light a candle every birthday. We light her a candle or we have a big bonfire depending on the weather. This year we were supposed to have a big bonfire and it snowed and was really cold. So my fire pit was under 3 feet of snow.
Wow.
So,
well, hopefully you're not lighting too many more fires before you find out what happens. We'll do our part to share with our listeners on social media and stuff to let people know about Nicole's case. And I want to thank you for coming on to discuss it with us.
Well, thank you for having me, and hopefully, tips will start coming in. I try to do my best to get the word out about her and the other missing women.
Yeah, we'll keep up the good work.
We all need answers.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work.
Well, without you guys, it's pretty hard without you guys, too, right? So thank you again for letting me do this and getting the word out.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on.
We'd like to tell you a little bit about our Patreon program. If you visit patreon.com/missingpodcast, you can sign up to help this podcast through ongoing monthly support. As a thank you, we'll give you an on-air shout-out, a thank you card and sticker, plus you'll get early or ad-free access to episodes of the show and any bonus content.
Your Patreon support also goes towards helping the missing, because every dollar that we earn through Patreon will be split with charlieproject.org, the wonderful website that's been sharing information about so many missing persons cases for years. We hope you'll consider supporting the show. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/missingpersonspod. We're also on Twitter with the handle @missing_pod. And of course, you can find us and contact us through our website, missingpersonspodcast.com. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.